We're working with Maritime to develop and train the workforce that we're going to need for this new offshore industry. And Pedro, I want to thank you as our CEO, your leadership, your vision, your tenacity, your willing not to back down from a fight to bring clean energy and economic development to the Commonwealth is incredible. And just, I know how busy you are because we spend a lot of time together. For you to come down and meet these folks and be here is really, so thank you for your leadership. I want to talk a little bit about the Park City Wind Project and the Commonwealth Wind Project, because I know Pedro's already talked about Vineyard Wind. Obviously, we're incredibly excited that we're going to have the nation's first large-scale offshore wind farm operating. That's done in partnership, and I think Jen Cullen is going to be giving some of the details. So I'll skip over that one and talk about the two projects that are going to come after Vineyard Wind is built, the Park City Wind Project and the Commonwealth Wind Project. And you've seen this slide already, so you know where things are located. Vineyard Wind is the northerly part of our lease. The dark green is Park City Wind. The next phase is Commonwealth Wind. And they're in different stages right now, with Vineyard Wind obviously mature and being developed, and the other projects in permitting. And as Pedro highlighted, there is an economic restructuring that has to happen for these contracts that we're doing in parallel. So just focusing on the benefits of these two projects, about 2,000 megawatts of clean energy, taking about 4 million tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. That's the equivalent of about 800,000 cars being taken off the road, powering about 1 million homes. And I want to underline that one because we need clean energy, but we also need energy. We have power plants that are retiring, electric demand is going up, and we in the Northeast are dangerously dependent upon one type of fuel, natural gas, to provide our energy supply. I often say it'd be like someone retiring with one stock. I mean, that is an awful risk to be taking if things go wrong, and we see what happens all the time. When natural gases spike up, which they did this winter, and it's partly due to global conditions that are completely outside of our control, we all pay very dearly. So diversifying our fuel mix and having stable long-term contracts to offset and replace natural gas is key for economic development. There's also a very major reliability benefit. These projects involve interconnecting many megawatts of new power into the electric grid in Cape Cod, and that electric grid needs to be upgraded to take that power. Another benefit of that upgrade is you'll have a much more reliable, up-to-date electric system. So that's a long-term benefit. And then, as I'll get into in a moment, there is significant job creation and economic benefits that come with these projects. Two of the economic benefits are not on Cape Cod, but we're so excited about them, we need to talk about them a little bit, which is the way we are leveraging our purchasing power and our investment power to create new opportunities. In Salem, the site of a former coal-burning power plant, we're working with Crowley Maritime, who was honored here a few nights ago. I don't know if anyone had a chance to come to that dinner, but they were honored. They're going to build a new marshalling port for offshore wind, and we will be the anchor tenant, and our financial investment is helping to make that a reality. So Massachusetts will not only have one marshalling area in New Bedford, which we already have, but a second one, which will make us very, very competitive going forward in this offshore wind industry, and turn this unproductive site into productive use for the clean energy of the 21st century. Similarly, in Brayton Point, there's an abandoned coal property, which will become a major manufacturing center for the electric cables that are used for these projects. And the way that's coming about is we said to Prysmian Cable, a world-class cable manufacturing facility, we will buy all of the output that we need for our projects if you agree to locate a manufacturing facility at Brayton Point. And so that was the deal. And so you see we've helped to catalyze really tremendous economic development and take these two coal-burning power plants and turn them into thriving, job-creating, clean energy centers. So we're super proud of that. We're also proud, and Pedro talked about this, about the way that we're trying to build a diverse workforce. We respect union labor. We have a project labor agreement for Vineyard Wind. We will have them for Park City and Commonwealth. We're providing scholarship funding and grants to help people get trained in this new industry. We're partnering with Maritime and Bristol Community College to offer courses and training. We are partnering with women-owned and minority-owned businesses to make sure they're part of this new supply chain. So a whole bunch of things to make sure that as we're building offshore wind, we're also building a durable workforce, and we're reaching parts of the state and parts of the country that haven't felt the economic advantages from prior booms in certain industries. We want this truly to be, as John Kennedy said, a rising tide that floats all boats. So that's our goal. And I think the other thing we're extremely proud of is our unique relationship with the town of Barnstable. They are showing tremendous leadership in being willing to be the hosts of our three projects. It doesn't do a bit of good to have offshore wind turbines spinning if you don't have a place to connect on land. That is an essential ingredient. And to have that, it does require towns and communities to be willing to talk to you about what it would mean to host those communities and what you might get in return for being hosts. And in a minute, I'll show you a slide that sort of summarizes all of the economic benefits for the town of Barnstable. But I want to focus on one which I consider to be a truly unique collaboration, which is our project not only generates clean energy, it's helping to advance clean water here on the Cape. And specifically, we are selecting routes to put our electric duct banks to connect into the grid. We've worked with the town to select routes where the town is already planning on putting sewer lines in those same locations. And we're going to do these projects together. So the road will get opened up, the sewer line will go in, the electric line will go in, and then we will be responsible for the final coating and paving. The citizens benefit because the road only gets torn up once. The town benefits because there's substantial financial assistance. And it's a way of sort of killing two birds with one stone and driving two benefits. And I think, you know, when people look back and ask the question, how was it that AVANGRID and the town collaborated so well? This is the kind of real-life partnership that really makes a huge difference. We're also doing a bunch of things to try to minimize the disturbance because these projects are disruptive and there's no way around it. While the roads are being torn up, while work is happening at the beaches, it is an inconvenience. But we can minimize that by not doing work in the summer months. We can provide mitigation for businesses that lose business because there's lack of parking and lack of access to their businesses. And one of the things the town has insisted upon is to not just do average environmental protection, but superior environmental protection for our components. So for example, our electric substations are being held to an engineering standard that far exceeds any other standard we know of in the country in terms of making sure that the groundwater of Cape Cod is never harmed by any fluids that are in our substation. And we have a whole agreed upon, negotiated format for doing that, which the town is looking at other regulatory agencies adopting for their projects too. So we've really set a trend there as well. Now, if we were to just summarize the economic benefits to the town of Barnstable between our host community payments, the taxes, the in-kind services for the road work, and many other things, it comes to about $217 million over 30 years, a very significant contribution to a town like many others on Cape Cod that are facing enormous costs because of the requirement to address wastewater and deal with the real threat to Cape Cod, which is the water quality. So we're proud to be partners, and I would say of those amounts, they're really actually understating the benefit, because we're not even counting all the spending that happens when you hire all these workers that they'll do on restaurants and hotels. And we're not counting the economic benefit of addressing the water quality problem faster than would otherwise be done. But this is the kind of commitment we have to provide these direct economic benefits. And again, we are so grateful for the leadership of the town manager, who I think is here with you tomorrow, and the town councilors, and many, many residents in Barnstable who are attending our meetings and listening to the facts and want to do the right thing and make sure they have the right information to do it. I wanted to show this because I said at the beginning, when these construction projects happen, they are disruptive. And this is Covell's Beach, where Vineyard Wind 1 was doing what's called horizontal directional drilling, which is how you connect the electric grid under the beach. And it is true, if you went to this parking lot about a year and a half ago, it would look like a significant construction zone. It would not be a place that you'd want to spend a lot of time. But this is what it looks like now. We have repaved it, we've restored it. Those white squares are the manholes for our project. Those are the only visible thing you'll see at the beach or the parking lot. So my only point is, the disruption is real, the inconvenience is real, but it is temporary, and we're committed to leaving wherever we do our work in a better place than when we found it. We also are doing a tremendous amount of environmental stewardship. We realize that our projects are first time and unique, and so we're putting a lot of money and partnership into monitoring and getting good science. So we know answers to questions like how do wind farms affect birds and these types of things. So that's an investment we're proud to be making. We spend a lot of time here on Cape Cod and elsewhere with many groups. We have open houses in Barnstable for each of our projects once a month. Rachel and Pat and other members of our team are practically camped out in Barnstable doing that outreach. But these are these projects where the facts are on our side. So we're not hiding anything. The more good information we get out, the better the chance that we'll have community acceptance. We do a lot of sponsorships and engagement. Today is an example. That's an important part of being a local contributing member of the community. Fisheries engagement is particularly important. I want to shout out John and Kayla for their work. The fishing community sees offshore wind coming. They know it's coming, but they want to be part of it. They want to understand what the impacts are. They want to know that people who are building these facilities have respect for their way of life. And so we have directly employed many different fishing liaisons and representatives. We're all up and down the coast meeting with the fishing community and providing a variety of different financial contributions and other contributions to make sure they're well engaged with what we're doing. And finally, we are moving through the permitting process. We are in a federal permitting process for the offshore components that's going to wrap up this year and next. Our Park City wind project is, I'd say, about half to 2/3 permitted. We expect to have all of our permits in hand by early next year. Commonwealth Wind is really just getting started now, so we have a ways to go. There'll probably be a couple of years in the permitting there. I should say there, because we're starting this process, it is important that the public attend these open houses and town council hearings, and we've gotten a lot of good support from, for example, the Cape Cod Climate Collaborative and others. But if you like these projects, if you like what we're doing, especially if you're a Barnstable resident, but you don't have to be, having you come to these hearings and speaking up is really helpful. I would be dishonest if I didn't say that we have a vocal, organized opposition to this third project. I respect that, but it's also fair to say that there's a lot of information they're putting out that isn't true, unfortunately. And it's it's almost a full-time task to try to counter some of that misinformation. And that's just how it goes. I've been doing these land use things for a long time, so I know that's part of it. But I think the best way to counter is first for us to provide good information, but it's also for people who think that this is important to get these projects going, to participate in an authentic way. And we have a lot of people from Barnstable who have come up and said, I'm actually supporting this project and here's why. And it's a fairly brave act to do that when there's 50 people at the meeting who are dead set against it. So we do need more of those people who are willing to speak up. And so that would be my ask. But I think I'm going to conclude there. We're super excited about being in this community. Once Vineyard Wind gets built, which is next year, Park City Wind a few years later, Commonwealth a few years after that. So a huge, bright future in Cape Cod's blue economy ahead. Thank you.